Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Inside Fitness Radio presents Total Fitness Podcast. My name is Matthew,
I'm Walter.
and today we are going to be talking about Calum Von Moger. So, if you have been in the industry or if you followed the fitness influencer industry for a while, and when I say a while, maybe like 5 to 6 years ago,
Yeah.
the Arnold 2.0 is what he used to be called when he first burst onto the scene. He was Arnold 2.0. Now, so many people looked up to this guy. He was great physique, just a good vibe. He had a great personality, and of course, he just blew up. Like, he was everywhere. And unfortunately, in the past year and a half, 2 years, so originally he sustained some pretty major injuries. The first one being he was working out with Chris Bumstead, the four-time classic physique Mr. Olympia, and they were doing a tandem bicep curl on a barbell with, like, what was it, 315, 405 pounds. And Callum tore the bicep off the bone. Like, it was a bad bicep tear. Injury number one. A little bit of a spiral down, but the great back, or the idea of the setback's always better than the comeback's always greater than the setback.
Comeback is always important. Yeah.
However, there was definitely signs that he wasn't 100% okay. Like, I mean, your whole persona and your whole job is your physique and working out, and he couldn't do that with his right arm, or his left arm, I think it was. So he started what looked to be hanging out with some wrong people, or just living a little bit more of that bad boy lifestyle. And there was this other video where he was basically climbing down a rock face, like a sheer drop cliff somewhere in Australia, I believe. And he slipped. And because he slipped, he ended up tearing his quad badly and, like, dislocating his knee and re-tearing that bicep, which then led to quite a downward spiral of drug use, alcohol abuse, and just really bad, situations that he was getting himself into. And he basically ghosted and hadn't been doing anything. And then all of a sudden, he popped back up again, and he released this.
Looking back and reflecting, like I made heaps of mistakes, and I've had plenty of setbacks, but and yeah, it's like it feels terrible, to let people, family or friends down and stuff. It's not easy to let those things.
Now, I won't play the whole video. If you guys want to check it out, you can go on his YouTube. It's Calum Von Moger. It was posted 2 days ago. You can go check out his Instagram. He was just saying, I apologize. It's been the longest time checking in on here. In my opinion, he looks a lot healthier from some of the photos that came out about a year ago or 6 months ago, even, of him when he was just before he went into rehab, But yeah, I mean, this is what the dude used to look like. Just massive Arnold 2.0, great vibe.
Everybody played Arnold.
He played Arnold. That's right. Yeah. In the
Weir movie.
Weir movie. Yeah. So this was the quad injury. This was the bicep injury. So he had a lot of stuff going on, and these were from like 100. That's over 2 years ago now, right? So, anyways, we just want to bring this to the attention because he was such a massive figure back in the day. And even personally, I looked up to the guy. He was a great guy, a great physique. But there's a few things we kind of want to talk about in terms of what we hope for him, and obviously, how to avoid, not obviously people get into situations and they don't go as far as him, but how do you deal with a setback? Because he dealt with it in a very bad way.
I think that one of the important things is he did talk about depression as well. He didn't talk just about the fact that he got into drugs, but I mean, if you do equate yourself entirely with your physique, with your career, any of those things, and then something takes that away from you for whatever reason, it's understandable rather that if you already have depression to deal with, you could fall into the other things. There's a way of medicating yourself to make yourself feel better because of what's going on in your life. I know that's the beginning of a downward spiral. It certainly was for me, but it isn't necessarily for everybody. I just it was difficult for him to have to say those things. You could tell that he wasn't comfortable saying them. And I think, there right away he's doing the right thing. He's coming forward and saying, I've made mistakes. I need to clean up my act. And hopefully he's kind of making amends to his fans. And that's admirable.
Everybody loves a comeback story, right? Like everybody loves that redemption arc. We've chatted about that before, but yeah, it was even the Instagram video, and I saw a couple days prior to that, he was posting on his stories and all that, and in the Instagram video, he's talking about the outpour of support that he got that he didn't think he was going to get, and I think that made him realize, like, I might need to actually say something to these people to let them know what was going on, which he doesn't owe to anybody, in my opinion. I do think, though, when you fall, to try to climb back up to the top, you need to kind of look at the mistakes and look at what happened and to hold accountability almost and to speak it out. Like you can't hide stuff like that down.
Yeah.
You can't overdo it too, right? I've seen tons of people overdo it where they're like, I was very hardcore into partying and drugs and, and I still do it, but that's okay because I'm working on myself, but that's okay. I still do it. Right. And they just kind of lie to themselves in that sense. He seemed like he is really trying to desperately make a change. He mentioned he went to rehab. He looks healthy. He looks like he's smiling again. Like I saw some videos, a couple, I think he was dealing with a handler before he went to rehab. Like I think people were trying to help him from my understanding. Again, this is speculation from news sources that I've heard in terms of like Australian news and just other contacts that are closer to Calum. And they were saying that, he was doing okay a little bit. And then he started kind of fumbling a little bit again. And he started posting videos of himself and pictures, and he took them down quickly, but you could tell he was just not in a good space.
Yeah.
Here he's smiling. He seems happy. He seems like he wants to truly get better, and he wants to almost give back to the fans, because I think in that situation, and I can't say this because I'm not, I don't have 3 million followers and almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube, but being that popular, I think you almost feel you owe something to the people that supported you, and you want to give them what they deserve because they got you to where you were. But that also could lead to something a little bit bad too, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, the problem with that situation is, do you give them what they deserve, honesty, your information, or do you give them what they want? How do you figure out what they want? And I think the trap that a lot of people fall into with this thing is they start to play to what they think the audience wants them to be or have or do, rather than giving them an authentic person to follow. And I think he's following the route of being more authentic now. Unlike another thank you or another I'm sorry I did a bad thing that we've seen just in the last couple of months, which felt just a little bit stagey in its manner. Not to name any names or anything. I don't really like organ meats anyway. I think good for Colin. I'm glad that he seems to be on the mend, and he seems to be working a program to help him get on his feet and stay on his feet. It's hard. It's a hard business to be in when you know that people are looking at you, and it only takes one person to say they don't like what you did to negate the hundreds of people who said they do like what you did.
Well, and that's the problem. Like there is so much having the insecurity there too, which is something he will have to work through, because you can tell even now, even before, he had the anxiety, and he spoke about that. But there is, as you said, something to be said about having your physique be your persona, basically, or your career or whatever. But especially physique, there's a lot of insecurity around that, because you will miss workouts. You will maybe get injured again. You will get older, and you won't be able to get better at some point. Like it's just reality. Like your testosterone will drop off, and yes, he's obviously on stuff, but you will at some point stop being able to work out the way you did. You take a little bit longer to recover. Your muscle mass, your skin gets a little bit looser, the elasticity in your skin, your bone mass isn't as strong. Like, yes, you will definitely be way, way above somebody who isn't doing that or hasn't been doing that their whole life. But are you okay with your body doing that? And you have to be, right? And that's going to be something. And a lot of bodybuilders struggle with that.
I think you have to be smart enough to have a plan B or a next plan. We'll call it B. That designates a level. The next plan. I mean, I think where Schwarzenegger was smart was he said, okay, I can't be a bodybuilder forever. What's the next thing? And he started to get into acting very early. You know, he was taking acting classes before his first Olympia, preparing himself, and he was certainly getting into real estate. But he had a plan in place for what his transition to the next phase would be.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people do. A lot of people are like, well, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I can't change anything, you know, and then the company dissolves that they work for, and they're left with no identity and no plan B.
Think about it like this. I mean, I've met a few people who, and we've all known somebody who dated the person, the guy or the girl, and they broke up, or even worse, the person passed away, they're left a widow, and their life is over. Like, they were never, until the day they died, or they're, 10 years have passed and they're still living that life of, my life is over. And obviously, if my partner, passed, or even, whatever happened, I'd be devastated. But the reality of the situation is, you have to have that next step. And it's not like I'm anticipating it, but I know that me as a person, being confident with my mental health and knowing that I'm constantly working on it, that yes, there will be shitty months if that ever happened, like 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years, but I will always be working towards getting out of that and being a better person. Because it's also like, the more you sit in something, the more it's going to smell like shit. The longer you sit in
it rots.
That's it. You have a baby in a dirty diaper, it's going to start smelling even worse. But you just get to that point where you have to move on to the next step. We've done it. Sure, maybe I want to go back at some point in bodybuilding. I know I won't be boxing forever. Bodybuilding, I know I'm not going to be a pro at any point. Maybe I could be. Who knows? It's not really a goal of mine anymore. But maybe the next step after boxing is going into, we've talked about it, triathlons or Ironmans or something. Maybe the step after that is doing what my dad's doing. He's 67. He's doing curling and hockey, and he's doing stuff he never thought he would do.
Yay,
he loves it,
dudes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where my worry with Calum comes in, is he doesn't necessarily have the next plan. His next plan is just, right now, is getting better. And then it's like, okay, that is obviously very, very important. But what's going to happen after that?
A series. I'm gonna prophesy a series on Australian television.
Yeah, YouTube.
See how it goes through there.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if Hemsley is backing down, well, wait, the other Hemsley's taking over, isn't he?
Is he? I don't know.
Yeah, I heard that Liam was going to take over the floor.
He's not the same, though. He's not the same.
He's not the same, no. But
I don't know.
How many Supermen have there been? How many Batmen have there been?
That is something I would like to see Colin, because he was trying very hard at first to get into acting, and then the ego kind of gets in the way, and he's just like, I don't need to do classes anymore. But yeah, that would maybe be a good step for him. Is he has his own company? He had a supplement company. I think he might not be a part of it anymore, because his business partners basically forced him out and closed it. I think, I'm not sure, staunch. So if anybody can tell me that would be great. He is with Bucked Up Nutrition now, as far as I'm aware. But again, what's going to happen once that,
Well, being a spokesperson for a nutrition company implies a certain body type, and as long as you can maintain that body type, yes. Are they going to be open-minded to allowing? See, here's the thing. to my mind. If a supplement business is smart, they're going to realize that they have an aging population as well. And they're going to market themselves two ways, not just to the young bucks in the gym, but also to what the overall benefits are to using their product for an aging population.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he could fall into, and then as time goes on, stay within that business. But he should probably think about a side hustle and a side hustle and a side hustle as time goes on.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, he has a big following on YouTube. He has a big following on Instagram. He just needs to. That could be a great start for him, right?
Yeah.
Is getting back into doing that stuff. People love to see him work out. People, I'm sure if he's comfortable with it, I'm sure people want to hear more about what happened. He doesn't have to talk about that, but you know, maybe at some point he will, and that would be another great start. And then maybe he could start working with, you know, people who are in the same boat and being a spokesperson for that. Or again, if you're getting into a nutrition company, the beauty of nutrition and supplement companies these days is it's not like the old days where you had to, if you didn't have the look in the magazine or you didn't win the show, you were really worthless. He has a massive following on social media. No matter what, even as he ages, even if he loses muscle down the line, he will still have that following and probably more. And people he can still promote that product pretty well without even stepping on stage ever again. Right. So I'm glad he has bucked up nutrition right now. I'm glad they have him on the roster, or maybe looking at bringing him on as a full-time athlete. And then again, I'd love to see him get back into YouTube. And if he wants, you know, that's something he has to decide what he wants. You know, I would just, as a fan, I want to see him back again.
Yeah.
Right. But again, he has to do what he wants. That's best for him and the healthiest thing for him.
That's all you can do. Keep working at it. One day at a time, as they say.
Exactly. One rep, one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, so go check him out. Give him support if you were fans and you hadn't noticed his updates. I know because he hasn't posted in a while, his algorithm was all messed up. But if you are a fan of him, he is hopefully coming back for good this time. So go give him the support he deserves. And as always, if you have any questions, go ahead.
I'm going to say one thing. Calum, if you're watching, give us a call. We'd love to have you on. We'd love to talk to you about it.
That would be great. That would be really great.
Yeah.
As always, guys, you know where to find us, just at the links below. If you have any questions, any comments, we'd love to hear from you guys. Stay safe.
Stay breezy.
Take care, guys.